I'm Ajibala Hamzat, and I'm speaking to you from the Federal Capital City in Nigeria. So a warm welcome to everyone who is here. I hope everyone can hear me loud and clear. Fola, can you please help confirm whether my voice is audible enough?
Yes, Ajibola, you're very audible. We can hear you loud and clear. We can see you.
Thank you very much. So I am going to be speaking about OSINT for investigating aircraft and vessels specifically, because there are several tools that can be used to undertake investigation using our computers. But I choose to focus on OSINT for aircraft and vessels because of some of the recent experience that I had. Many of us probably are familiar with the story of a young boy who was tweeting or tracking the aircraft of Elon Musk. I think that news was broken sometime last year. And Musk has to come out to say, hey, I don't want someone tracking my movement from everywhere I go. And that was back and forth. And at the end of the day, he was suspended from Twitter. I read that story and it got me thinking that, so it was actually possible for someone from far distant world to track the movement of any celebrities or public figures and all that. And I thought that's a very important tool for journalists, especially those ones who are reporting aviation issues and maritime. I'm not a maritime journalist. I don't cover maritime, and neither do I cover aviation. But I am very interested in any tool that can help the journalists to do better investigation. And that is why I took interest in understanding how some of the websites that exist. In fact, it was later I realized that indeed there are several websites that exist through which we can track aircraft and vessels across the world. So I found it to be a very important tool for journalists. And so let me start by generally saying that when we talk about the open sources, I mean, a good number of my colleagues are journalists of many years and can be assessed either by observation or by you requesting for it or by paying for it. Some will argue that, well, if you pay for it, it's no longer open. But the point is, if it is available a few dollars, websites that made some information public, which I think journalists can actually use to their advantage. And that is why I think this particular websites, and a number of them are very, very useful to get access to. Many of us will recall that during the pandemic, I'm having an unstable, okay, I think it's better now. So during the pandemic, most journalists are unable to go to many places they would have loved to go and cover stories. So in those kind of situations, that is when you begin to think of open to war. I mean, war is going on in Ukraine. several reports that journal take now. So these are situations that allows us to
Hello, Ajibola. Can you turn off your video?
use tools that will allow us to undertake investigation. Good for trying to find more evidence to our stories. I am the one who will always say that is journalism of hope, but technology has made life so easier for all of us now to gather additional evidence. These tools very well. So the open source tool help us to not only gather more evidence, but it also allows us to also corroborate the witness accounts that we hear from different sources. So these are the we're talking about are very useful. And also, when we need information that insiders, we can also resort to use OSINT that's available. And that is why the knowledge of open source tools is very, very important, not only for journalists, but also for researchers, academics. So, like I should say, specifically, I'm going to be focusing on the tools to track aircraft. And in the course of doing my small research, I have come across quite a number of them that I wish I knew them or knew about them many years ago. Some of you who probably are familiar with Nigerian stories, in 2007, we had a president who just disappeared from the face of the earth. Nobody knew where he was. Whether it was in Nigeria, or it was in Germany, or it was somewhere in Europe, nobody could tell. And I wish then that I had known what I know today. It would have been easier for me to, and of course for many journalists, to be able to at least have an idea of how the movement of the president could be tracked. So it is in this light that I think some of these tools are very, very important for our work. The one I came across very early in my research was a flight radar, which of course many of you are probably familiar with. I found it very, very useful because of different ways by which you can access information of aircraft and of airports, arrival, and departure, and several other data that you can gather about the movement of aircraft. And then the flight aware and jets photos. I'm going to be sharing how I used some of these tools with us so that we also can try it out at our own time. But I can assure you, they are pretty simple tools to use. But because many of us don't really play in the aviation industry, so we are unfamiliar with how some of these works. And that is what I'm trying to show to us this afternoon. But there are key information that we need to have before we can be able to use some of those tools that can allow us to use some of those tools more efficiently. So for instance, it's very important that you have the name of the airport you are trying to investigate. If you're tracking a plane, you probably need to know where the plane was leaving and where it was going to, the destination and the origin of the flight. You probably would need to have an idea of that. Excuse me. If you do not have that, then it's important you probably have the name of the airline that owns the aircraft or the aircraft registration number. In fact, this is very, very important, the aircraft registration number, because with this number, you can't miss it. It is the particular number that helps a researcher to be able to identify a particular aircraft that you are looking for. And then the final one is the flight number, which of course all of us are familiar with because many of us are travelers, and we have traveled at one time or the other, and we got a flight number. So these are the details that you need to query or to insert in the query box for you to be able to get an idea of the plane you are tracking. So talking about the registration number, which I said is very, very important to know in order for you to be able to track. The first is to know that some of these registration prefixes, the way the aircraft are named, have been listed somewhere, country to countries. So just by the name of a country, you can easily determine where the aircraft is registered. So for instance, when you see any aircraft that is with registration number with 5N, what that means is that that particular aircraft is registered in Nigeria. And then it follows with other 3 numbers. So 5N is constant. The changing numbers are the following numbers. So it could be A to AB, AC, and all to ZZZ. So the very moment you see 5N, you know that this is a plane that is registered in Nigeria. And the same thing across different countries of the world. So I put the link here because my internet is not very stable. I would have loved to show some of these for you to see how it looks on the website that I checked. But let me make it. Okay, here we go. Can you see this? So what I was trying to show earlier on is to see how those numbers are arranged. So when you go to the Wikipedia, you're gonna have this presentation anyway. So when you see the link here, you just click and then you see all the names of the countries and the where the aircraft are registered. So for Nigeria, as I mentioned, is 5N. For South Africa is ZS down to AA and to RZZ. For China, it is CC. For Germany, it is D. For United Kingdom, it starts with G down to AA to ZZ. And then for the United States, it starts with N1 to N999. And so those are the numbers that you need to know to quickly identify where a particular aircraft is registered. And see an example of what I'm talking about. Here is a particular plane. For those ones who are not Nigerians, again, the man I'm showing here is the president-elect of Nigeria. Is going to be inaugurated as president in the next couple of weeks, if everything goes well with him in a court. So this is private plane, VP CBT. So if you go through the list that I tried to show to you earlier on, this is where it turns out the plane was registered. This is the number of the plane. It's started with VP, and anything VP is registered in Cayman Islands. So does it interest anyone to know that the president-elect private jet is registered in Cayman Island? And that's a country that is usually being reported as being attracted to tax evaders and attracted to fraudsters and drug traffickers because they want to hide their money. So I was just trying to check where does the the president-elect registered his aircraft, and it turned out that that is where it was registered. For anyone who wants to do a further investigation, you might want to find out why would the president of Nigeria and president-elect of Nigeria choose a country or an island, Cayman Island of all places, to register his private business, private jet. That has not in any way indicated that he has broken any law. It's just a question that you can raise. And that is one of the things that open tool can help us to get at. So apart from the registered name or registered number of the aircraft, the other important element you need to investigate an aircraft is the airport name. The code, every airport has its own code. So an IATA, created a code for every airport in the world. By the way, IATA is an International Air Transport Association. So these codes are usually derived from the 3 letters of the airport city. So if, for instance, you have MIA, that is for Miami International Airport, then DEN is for Denver International Airport. LOH, that's the code for Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Nigeria. So usually the code name for airports, it's always taken from the name of the city where the airport is located. So you can have the John F. Kennedy, well, this does not take the name of the New York City where JFK is located. So you have occasions like that. You have some situations like that. And then you have the South African Johannesburg, which is JNB or FOR because it has been changed to Oliver Tambo International Airport. And the Gatwick Airport is a LGW. The Russian is a KZN. So those are the code names for airports. So I'm trying to give you some of this code because those are the codes that you will put in the query box that will return the check that you are trying to find answers to. It's very important that you are able to find some of these codes for easier investigation. And again, I'm going to show you how I try to use them at different times to get some information about aircraft recently. Then the last one is a flight number, which I mentioned earlier. Flight number are usually numbered based on their directions of travel. So usually the aviation people have a way of trying to create a number for different flights. So when a plane is going either north or east, the flight are usually the flight number usually assigned is usually an even number. But when the plane is going west, the flight number that are usually assigned to that aircraft is odd number. Those are, you probably don't need to worry yourself so much about that. All that matters is that you are able to know that a flight number is different from a registration number and is different from the airport number. And you can find all these on the internet. So for instance, I made some examples here. The airpiece is P4 or APK. So usually what they do is the flight number is usually the short abbreviations of the airline's full name. So the airline full names usually takes after the code, the flight numbers. So for airpiece, you have P4 or APK. For marks here, you have a VM on NGL. When you have a case like this, it means that other airline has taken the name, and that is why marks cannot be MA. But usually, the names of the airline is what is used to represent the flight number. Look at the American airline, for instance. So whatever flight American Airlines is undertaking today, it's the flight number start with AH and then followed by a few other numbers, either 2 numbers or 3 numbers, but it must start with AH. The same thing with British Airways, which starts with BA or BAW, and then a few numbers will come after it. Lufthansa is a DLH and then numbers after. Remember I said that in cases where the code or the initial does not represent the name, it means that another airline must have taken over that name. And that is in the wisdom of the FAA to create a different name for that aircraft. So 3 things that I mentioned that is very important when we need to investigate aircraft: the flight number, the airport, and the registration number, which is the 3rd one. So the registration number is very important. If you know any of these, just any of these, then you are good to go. Now, here are the tools that I mentioned that we can use to track whatever plane or aircraft that we want to monitor. So Flight Radar 24 was established by some Swedish service some years back, and they have over 200,000 flights tracked per day. So resource for data resource for investigative reporters or for researchers. I use Flight Radar, one tool that provide very easy access to some of the information that I mentioned to you earlier on. Fola, can you see confirm that you can hear me, please?
Yes, Ajibola, we can hear you.
Great, thank you. So now, the first thing you're going to see on the website is a search. And I wish I could be able to demonstrate these directly. So you're going to see search, you're going to see airports, you're going to see airlines, you're going to see aircraft registration. Like I mentioned to you, you're going to see flight. So these are the key boxes on the website. And you only need to insert just one information and it will turn up the query that you are making. So if, for instance, on the aircraft registration number, you put the registration number that I mentioned earlier to you, it's going to return most information about that aircraft, the year it was made, the travel history of the aircraft, and all others. If you put flight, it is going to show you the flight, departure, and the arrival, and the time. So that when you are tracking anyone, anywhere, you can easily know when the plane departs and when it arrives. And then there is a box for statistics that will provide you some more data about the aircraft, the speed at which the aircraft is traveling, and the altitude of the plane. But I must also warn you that it is not all possible. I mean, it's not all the time that one particular tool will return all the information that you need to start your investigation. And that is why you combine tools. So usually I combined Flight Radar with jet photos. So if you want the photographs of the jet that you are trying to, because you might not get a photograph on the Flight Radar, but if you want to illustrate the aircraft that you are investigating, then you need jet photos. Another tool that I use that are very, very helpful is airportdata.com. With airportdata.com, because sometimes you might not be able, you might be looking for the registration number of the aircraft, and you are not sure whether what you saw on the list I showed to you is correct. This is a place where you can confirm or verify the number. The airport data indeed have all the registration number, otherwise known as tail number, of all the aircraft. So here, I was looking for the aircraft owned by the Nigerian government. I have read that Nigerian government has about 10 aircraft. So I came to airport data to come and track the tail number, just to be sure that those aircraft belong or registered in the name of the Nigerian government. So, and this is where I came to find them. Airport data, you only need to provide the names of the country, and then it will list all the aircraft registered in the name of that country. So you can see on the right side of the table here, I'm sorry it is small, I wish I could make it bigger than this. You will find out that every aircraft here are registered in Nigeria. And that is because I am looking at the one belonging to the Nigerian government. So airport data is going to help you to confirm that the number of the flight that you have found is very, very correct. So this is what I use this tool to do. Recently, there was a report that our president traveled to the Saudi Arabia for Hajj, and that he went with friends and families and some members of his cabinet. And this report came out that he sponsored over 100 family members to Saudi for lesser Hajj with public fund. This report was done by a Sahara reporter, April 28. But when I went through the entire story, I couldn't see the exact aircraft that the story was talking about. So that was why I went to go and look for all the aircraft owned by the Nigerian government through the airport data. And then I arrived at this. I saw that these are all the numbers of the aircraft owned by the Nigerian government. So you can do the same thing for your country. You can go to the airport data and look for all the aircraft registered in your country. And then you will see their tail number coming out like this. When I finished doing that, then I went straight to go and look for, oh, I think it's clearer here now. So here are the names and the registered numbers. 5N-FGS, 5N-FGX, 5N-FGW, 5N-FG. So all these are the aircraft belonging to the Nigerian government. So I got all these, and then you would also know the type of aircraft that it is. And it will provide you the number of some other numbers, the number of, okay, this is the engine number. All the aircraft belonging to the Nigerian government are double engine aircraft. And then this is the capacity. No, this is not the capacity. I need to be sure about this. So if I'm able to open the website, you are going to see what this number represents. I don't want to mislead anyone. So, but you can see that it is all Nigeria. So then when I have this information, what I did now was to use my flight radar to go and find out which of the flights actually traveled on the day the president. So you can see that it's one step after the other. And when I came to the flight radar, when I inserted different of those numbers that I showed to you earlier, the 5N-FGS, 5N-FGW, and all that, this is the one that shows up, 5N-FGS. Indeed, it shows that the president, because I didn't do it earlier, I did it when the president was coming back, because again, flight radar did not allow me to do more than 7 days because I am not a premium subscribers. So there are some reserved for premium subscriber. I think I need to mention that as well, that it is not all the data that you can find on this website. And that is why it is wise to combine them. So flight radar will only give you 7 days data. So when I was checking it, the president had already returned. So I wanted to know which of the flights that he returned with. And then on the very day he returned, that was on 19th April, if you can see what I'm pointing at here. I'm sorry it's so tiny, I'm struggling to see it myself. So on the 19th of April, that is when the president returned from Jeddah. You could see Jeddah to Abuja. So the president left Jeddah 19th of April. And then I think it was a 6 hours flight. So he left Jeddah around 1:46 p.m. and then returned to Nigeria by 6:21 p.m. I think there was a time difference of 2 hours between Saudi Arabia and Nigeria. That was why the number did not match. So this is the time, and this is the day he left Jeddah. And then the same plane went back. The same plane went back on 28th, again to Jeddah, and returned okay, you know, he left Abuja that same day. The next day, 20th, it's again left Abuja for Jeddah and returned on 21st. So that means that the presidential trip within 2 days probably confirmed that the president went with some a large number of people, because he couldn't have gone with a few numbers and had to do two trips. It was not as if he came back from Jeddah and went back the second day. So you begin to raise questions when you notice this kind of thing. I think this is another data that show, but this one didn't start from 19 because I couldn't capture it everything on the same page. So this starts from 20th and then 21. So you will see that indeed it was a 2 trip that the presidential plane actually made within 2 days. So this is a very good information for investigative journalists to continue to probe further that what could have happened, and then you have evidence to say that you traveled twice or your plane traveled twice. Can you explain why that happened? So I think this is one of the very important ways of using JET's Flight Radar 24. The next thing that I did was that I was trying to find out a little more about the aircraft itself. So I wanted to profile the aircraft 5N FGS. And again, this is what I found when I tried to profile it. I realized that the aircraft was Nigerian Air Force owned, so it's Air Force One, as they call it in Nigeria. And then the registration number is the same. And then the number of engine is 2. And then the number of seats it didn't provide, because I wanted to know how many people can that aircraft seat. I wanted to be sure. So I didn't get that information. But what I did later was to go and find out which kind of aircraft it is. Then I realized that it was Gulfstream. So and then went to the makers of Gulfstream and realized that most Gulfstream that were ever made, the seat was never more than 22. So again, this is an information that you can get on our airport data, because I use airport data to profile the plane itself. So the different websites for you to be able to get to the kind of answers that you are seeking, or before you can find relevant information that are useful for your investigation. I want to know if there is any questions at this point before I go on, please.
Yes, Ajibola, we have a couple of people with questions. So if you have a question, can you just raise your hand and unmute yourself? Okay, Nelly has a hand raised. Nelly, can you speak up?
Yes, thank you very much. Hello, Ajibola.
Hello, Nelly.
I wanted to ask a question that I think you almost addressed, so I'll just expand on the question a little bit. When you were talking about the president's plane, that's President Muhammadu Buhari of Nigeria, I was curious as to how the investigation found out that he traveled with his family members. Of course, I'm very sure there could have been scoops and so on, but to be factual about it, which is what we're doing, I figured since the tool isn't telling us particularly who is seated or how many people are seated in the plane and if it was full or not, you have to go, as you said, to a manifest. But in the case of a presidential plane, we might not be privy to such details like access to a manifest. And sometimes even in public airlines, we might not have access to a manifest. So I'm thinking, what do we do at that point when we've used the tools and it's now a little bit beyond the tools? What are the small navigations that we can try to see if we can narrow down the details that we're looking for?
Thank you very much, Nelly. And it's a very, very brilliant question, because I can tell you that that is the very reason why I couldn't go ahead with our story. Because the tool that I'm trying to describe can have their own limitation. To get some kind of information. But like I mentioned, it is going to get you closer, but it might not be the space where you can find answers to all the questions that you want. And you are right. If you really need to know who and who actually are seated with the president, you probably would need a manifest, which I was not able to, get. So, but for future investigation or for other kinds of investigation, that information, the information that you have could help you get somewhere. Like for instance, when I use the case of a Tinubu aircraft, for instance, I probably don't need any more information to prove that that plane belongs to Tinubu, because he owned that plane. We have seen him coming down from the plane. I have the number of the plane, and we check where the plane is registered, and it shows that it was that's much you can get. The other kind of information that you need is a second leg of your investigation. So it is not, investigation is not a process where you can use just one or two tools to find answers to your question. I think that's what I'm trying to say. And that's exactly why I could not go ahead with the story. Yes, Yakubu.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for this training. I'm trying to put in practice what I've been doing since. So I've been on Flight Radar 24. I'm trying to search particularly FGS, but the the prompt I'm getting is that no such aircraft is registered on the. So I don't know if I'm missing something.
So what number did you insert there?
FNFGS, the Air Force aircraft.
So 5N is
5N rather. I
5N.
mean 5N, not FN. I mean 5N. Sorry.
Okay, so
5N.
5N minus FGS. Can you try it again?
Okay.
Anyway, did you try it?
Okay, I got it now.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you're probably going to get several other 5N, FGE, FG1, FG2. So all those ones with FG different, those are the planes that belongs to the Nigerian government. And any other person can also try for their country. At this point, I'm going to speak to 2 or 3 more slides, and I'm going to ask us to go into a breakout and try out some of these codes that I've listed, or you can find your own code using the website that I listed as your examples. So the slide I have here is for flight aware. So I also use flight aware because, like I mentioned to you before, flight radar might not provide all the information that I have. And that is why I try to combine other tools. So flight aware is one of the tools that I also try to use. And this is what it also returned. It also confirmed that indeed the presidential plane FG 5N FGS travel on that day and return on that day, and some other travels. In fact, it provided more information about the flight. For instance, it gave the specific name of the airport that the aircraft took off from and where it's landed. And then it gave me many more days than flight radar 4 was able to give me. So that is the advantage of combining some of these tools with another. But I must also let you know that it is not every information that I had to look for the aircraft of the South African president, the South African Air Force, and it didn't turn up anything. So what I later found out is that some make requests that their their data should not be broadcast. Ordinarily, every aircraft in flight is expected to turn on their what is called transponder that will relay information to the station at the airport. But that date, some turn the transporter off, I believe. And because of that, it's difficult to collect some of those data. But this is what I realized that is just happening, especially with the complaint with the like of Elon Musk and the rest. But if you try several other commercial aircraft, you definitely get to see that you can get information about them. I tried the Air Force One for the US as well. I was only able to get the photographs and all that. But again, this is what it returned, no flight history. So when I tried all the presidential aircraft for different countries that turn out with no flight history, then I realized that it is actually possible to have the transponder turn off so that these will not show up. This Elon Musk Gulfstream that I tried to check of course, I was able to get the registration number and know the type of aircraft that it flies. This is not the only one anyway. And the serial number of the aircraft and other small details about the aircraft. But you no longer can know where Elon Musk is traveling to or where it is coming from. So those are the tools that I think are very useful for tracking aircraft. So right now, I am going to suggest that we get into a breakout. And I could suggest a few names for you, but if you are already able to find some names of some aircraft, that would be very great. You can try any of these websites to see if you're going to be able to collect some information about the flight and about the aircraft itself and about the airport.
So I'll manually assign people to the rooms. We have 6 breakout rooms. So you might find yourself assigned to a room.
So how many rooms do we have, Fola?
We have 6 rooms.
Okay. Okay, if you have 6 rooms, so let's assign. You can see this slide I'm showing here.
Mm-hmm.
Can we assign these aircraft? Oh my God, I think I shouldn't have. Anyway, you can see track it. So GV.GVRNB, GVT, these are all Virgin Atlantic. Can somebody track some of these aircraft? Maybe each room. So the first one will be first room, and the second one will be second room, and the third room, and the fourth room, and the 6th room, and the 7th room, and as many rooms as we have. So we can use this to practice. So in 10 minutes, let's see what we can get using these tail numbers. So just return the flight for today for each of these aircraft. Where are they going? Where are they coming from? Which airport are they coming from? And profile the aircraft itself. What kind of aircraft it is and when was it built? Using some of those websites that I shared earlier. And thank you very much. Youth, for sharing the link to some of these websites. So I can see that airportdata.com has been shared already. FlightAware has also been shared. Thank you very much, Ud. And then JetPhoto has been shared as well. And then the list. Okay, so I think you have all the links to the website. So let's get to it.
Welcome back, everybody.
How did it go?
Yeah, it went well. And we have a couple of guys to make presentation on behalf of our group. So Irma, can you go first?
So the first one, what we chose was GVTEA. As we found out, the manufacturer is Airbus, and right now it had arrived like 23 hours around in London, I believe. So it's there, and there is this information which gives us the information about the model, year of build, construction number, and etc. The owner is Virgin Atlantic Airways, and address is in United Kingdom. So what else? I think it was all what we pulled out. on this one, and another one was with the number. Let me see, what was the number? RA 73771, which is headed to Russia right now. And the basic information, just like before, it was something like that. Any specific questions?
So did you, I mean, well done. That's some very good effort. The fact that you were able to know where the flight originated from and where it was heading to, that it's good job there. So I would like to know whether you are able to find any information about that aircraft. When was it made? What kind of aircraft was it?
It's given here. Year field was 2020. And what was the next question? Sorry. It was made in 2020. I'm talking about this one, GVT.
Where was the aircraft made? And what kind of aircraft was it?
It's a number of it is Airbus for the passengers transportation with more than 330 seats, 335. So Airbus made it, and address is owner is, as I said, Virgin Atlantic Airlines. Address is United Kingdom, and I think it is. Yeah, it is there, but where it was made, I'm not sure. I can give you the answer about that one. I was late at the presentation also, so sorry about that.
Okay, that's fine. Did you guys, how many websites did you guys use to get your final answer?
Those 3 websites, you sent the links in the chat.
Oh, great. Thank you very much. That's very helpful. So it was Airbus.
We'll go through it again after the presentation.
Definitely, and I'm gonna share the presentation with everyone so that you can go through some of those websites that are listed. I think you will just see how well many of those can provide information that is missing in the other websites. Thank you very much. Group 1, I believe. Group 2 is okay. Thank you very much. Yes. The other group.
Okay, I was in group 4, but
okay,
we didn't get the list. Yes, we didn't get the list of flights to try, but I figured I can tell you what I did.
Okay, great.
So there were 2 things I tried. I used Flight Radar 24 and also used Plane Finder.
Great.
For each of them, it looks like if you're not on the if you're not subscribed, you can easily get logged out and you have to come back on. But because we didn't have the numbers, I had copied out flight GVRNB, but I was told that there's no history for that flight. So what I decided to do instead was click on so when you go back to the home page, you can see different planes, different flights just around the world and just at a glance.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did instead was I clicked on one of the flights around the Nigerian airspace and I landed on KP70 flying from Lomé to Kinshasa. And I clicked on it and I was able to see the call sign, the airline, the equipment, the aircraft, the actual departure time, the schedule time, the arrival time. I was able to see some sort of a flight manifest of several other flights that had to take off after it, and those from the same airline. It'll give me a flight info when I click, but some things were only reserved for, when you have subscription plan.
Great.
So I was able to see that for the same plan. That was on Flight Radar 24. I tried the same thing on Plane Finder, and it wasn't as detailed as Flight Radar 24, but at least what I did was I got a Delta flight flying from Tel Aviv to Atlanta currently. And I got the call sign, flight number, I got the departure and arrival time as well, the course it's taking, altitude and stuff. But a lot more information on Plane Finder was locked because, of course, I'm using a free plan. But so since I didn't have that, I just decided to play around with the tools and see what, how much information can come at me, even if I didn't have like a specific flight to search. I hope that helps in some way, but that's what I did.
Awesome. Go through all that and get some information at the end of the day. Yes, I think I mentioned earlier as well that some of the subscriptions need to be premium before you can access some information. Not all of them are able to provide as much information as you want until you subscribe. And perhaps that's what Newsroom, who probably does that kind of investigation more often, need to think about. So thank you very much, Nelly. Who else want to go for it? We have just about 5 minutes to get out of here. I'm sorry we're not able to finish most of the things that we wanted to talk about, but that's fine. Gabriel, please, let's go.
Yeah, so I found something, almost the same thing everyone has been finding about other flights. So I did for GVDOT, and I found, of course, quite a number of details about the flight history in the last 7 days, as someone who was not subscribed to the website could find, free of charge. So I got the details of the flight. I've got that it's a Virgin Atlantic aircraft, the type code, but I couldn't get the serial number and the age. It's locked. And so there's something interesting I found apart from this general thing we usually have been doing. Is, say, for example, you perchance know that someone on the flight has a phone number you could track. So I just stumbled on this mistakenly, a related website you could check out to know the live location of that person on the flight. So I checked it out. I checked for my phone number. And I was able to see that this is the location I am currently based. Only that if I want to get the full details of that, I need to subscribe to the website and get the full details. So I just got it. It's just a cell phone location tracker. Okay, I could just drop the website so everybody could check out too.
That's the thing about this. That's the thing about this kind of history. Alabidun, please. Alabidun.
I was able to work on VTEA using airportdata.com. So I got to know that it was manufactured by Airbus. It has A350 iPhone 1041 model, and it was built in 2020. The construction number is 0426. And the aircraft registration number, DVTEA, alternative code is Rosili. And the current status is registered. It was delivered in 2020, November 30th. And the owner is Virgin Atlantic Airways with the address Crawley RH109DF in United Kingdom.
Thank you very much.
That's the little I can get from as it is concerned.
No, you done quite well. Thank you very much, Alabidun. And I want to say that, see, these should not stop. As you just try your hands on some of these tools, I think you should just continue to see how you can continue to use them for any investigation that you are trying to do around tracking the aircraft. And you see what again you can even discover as you do your own research about some of these tools. Those are the kind of things that tools, OSINT tools are meant to do for us. It is not to replace the real shoestring journalism, walking on the street, pounding the pavement. It is to also see how you can use technology to assist your reporting. And I think you have demonstrated that with what you guys have done with some of the tools that we have talked about this afternoon. So I want to especially thank all of you who stayed to the end of the session. It could really be a very boring kind of class because it's an industry that many are not familiar with. But the fact that you guys stayed to the end really shows that you are very interested in this topic. And I wish you all the best as you go ahead in your journalism work. Thank you very much, and do have a wonderful day. Please, we're going to have the part 2 of this training, I think in June 2nd, when my colleague Caroline is going to be talking to you about how we can also use OSINT to investigate events on social media. And that also promises to be very, very informative. And we hope to see all of you in June too. Jeff, you are still here. Do you want to say goodbye to everyone?
I don't think Jeff is still here. It's probably me.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
So thank you very much for that. And thank you, everyone. And do have a good day.
Okay, everyone. Thank you very much. See you on the 20th of June.